Hey gamers, and in this video we're going to create our first villain for Mutants and Masterminds, Thanatos, the god of death. Alright gamers, welcome back to Game Master's Dungeon. I'm Brian, your Game Master. Today we're going to do a Mutants and Masterminds character creation. We're going to do our first villain. This is a subscriber suggested character. Ramu the Gamer, shout out to him, gave me some ideas for a character he was trying to put together. Left it up into my capable hands to just run wild with, which I have. So if you're going to want to know how to make a character like this, grab your book and your character sheet, get ready to follow along. Also, I'd invite you to stay to the end. I'm going to do a little story time about this character, which is something that I normally don't do. Sometimes while I'm discussing it, I'll give you some ideas on how I would, the backstory of this character. But I want to go a little more detailed about this character because I really enjoyed putting it together. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Alright gamers, so here we are. We're going to be looking at Thanatos, our goddess, actually, of death. I've made this character female, which we're going to talk about why here in just a second. I found it pretty interesting. So, like I said, this is going to be a complex character. It's actually going to be using two separate character sheets. So, hope you got your book. You're ready to follow along. Also, stay tuned. After we go over the character sheets, we're going to do a little story time. Okay? So, let's just get into it. So, her name is Lilith Graven. So, I took that. So, Lilith, obviously, is Lilith from several different cultural religions and mythology. And then graven, like a graven object, if I remember correctly, it's something that's made to idolize or to worship. Okay, well, I mean, I think that's because she doesn't really have like a human name like we would think of, because she's a mix of demon and a god. Okay, that was kind of what Ramu asked, was it was going to be like a demon in a god form. So in my story time, I'm going to talk about how it all kind of goes together. But her base form is going to be her demon form. Okay. So and then Thanatos is obviously, I think, the Greek god of death. So we'll talk about why we chose that name here in just a second. Obviously, she's female. Age is unknown, really. Being a being like this, who knows how long she's lived or been alive. And she's really tall. It's like I got this feeling like she's kind of like Bayonetta. I don't know if you guys have ever played those, but she's really tall, long legs, like slender form, proportionally, real good. I don't know how else best to say it to keep it PG. 160 pounds, because she is pretty fit. She's, she's tall and she's fit. Eyes, she's got one red and one blue. And then she's got, in this form, she's got like jet black, long hair. Okay. Now her group affiliation that she's eventually going to start, I called it the FOE, the Fraternal Order of Evil. I thought that was kind of cool. So it's easy to remember too. FOE, like the bad guy, right? Base of operations. Really, this is the first villain I've created, so I haven't really come up with where their base of operations is going to be. She's just starting out here in this world, which we're going to talk about in the story time. I made her power level 18. Obviously, being as a villain, I don't want to start them at the same level. I like to start them higher, so they're a threat that the players will aspire to beat, So as they spend their experience points, they're getting stronger and stronger, and then it's the big showdown, right? So that gives us 270 points. So that's 15 points per level at 18 points, 270 points. So we spent 56 in abilities, 140 in powers, 21 in advantages, 33 in skills, and 20 in defenses. Okay? So let's skip the powers for now. We're going to go down here to advantages and skills like we normally do. So now let's go to advantages. So these are going to be super important. Okay? So we got fast grab, improved hold. So obviously in this form, she's going to be grabbing people. Okay, I'm going to talk about why here in a minute. Improved initiative 4. So unless someone is like a speedster, she's going to be going first, which is what she wants. Uncanny dodge, so she's not caught unawares. She's got die hard, being as a demon. She's also fearless. Can't scare her. Instant up if she gets knocked down. She does have 2 levels of attractive. I'm going to talk about why this is important here in a minute. And I gave her languages of 7. Now, obviously being like this kind of like demon celestial being, she's going to need to be able to communicate with anybody. So she pretty much, languages level 7, she can speak 64 languages. So there's not going to be anybody in my world that she's probably not going to be able to talk to or understand. Okay? Then I gave her taunt. So taunt allows her to use her deception skill instead of intimidate to demoralize opponents. Okay? Let's look at skills. So I gave her lots of skills because I got lots of points. Acrobatics and athletics. She's got unarmed and grab attacks at 15 each. Deception, right? Need that. Insight, so she can sense people's feelings and things like that. Perception, so she can see what's going on. Persuasion, so she's able to persuade people to join her cause. Then obviously, I don't know why these do this. We'll talk about it every time, but don't just ignore those. Okay? Now, let's talk about this character. So, you said demon, so I'm looking at different demons, and I'm like, oh, what kind of demon am I going to want to use? And I went with the succubus. Because I had in the story time, we're going to talk about it a little more, but so in her base form, she's like a succubus. She's gorgeous, she's beautiful, she's like an object of everyone's desire, right? She's got the wings, she's tall, gorgeous. That's where the attractiveness comes in, right? So really everyone is attracted to her. And she uses that to her advantage, for her, master plan and how she gets people to do what she wants. And so then I had to research some succubi, this is the plural. What kind of powers did they have? I kind of knew a little bit, but I dug a little deeper. So, okay, so this is the demon form. Okay, this whole character sheet is her demon form. We've got now then her other character sheet is going to be her god form, or her deity form, divine form, however you want to call it, because that's what Ramu wanted to do. He had 2 different forms. This form is going to be more physically capable. The other form is going to be less physical, but more magic, divine, reality, changing kind of abilities that we're going to talk about here in a few. So she's got Morph 2, so she can assume human forms of roughly the same size and gender. Okay? So she's going to be able to look like any woman she wants. They're roughly the same size. Okay? Which is important. Obviously, because she thinks that, okay, some men, because succubus, they prey on men, right? Some men maybe not like dark-haired women. Maybe they like blondes or redheads or, something about it, okay? There's something about a certain woman that men will be attracted to. She's going to be able to change her form to fit that desire, okay? She's going to have the wings, the big leathery, like, bat wings. I'm gonna play it like narratively that she's able to make them kind of like Lucifer, if you ever watched the TV show, how he's able to like make them just kind of disappear into his back. That's what she's able to do with those wings. Obviously, she can't fly super fast with it, only 30 miles an hour, which is still pretty fast, right? Now here's where we get some interesting powers. Okay, so we got the seductive kiss. So it's rank 15. It's a grab-based close attack. Cumulative, progressive affliction, resisted by will. What it's going to do is going to daze them, it's going to compel them, and then it will ultimately control them. So basically, she gets in close, she grabs, she goes in for the kiss, and they make these rolls, and then eventually they will just become mind controlled to her. She will be able to give them any command, any order, and they'll do it. Okay? And then she also has the gift of sleep as well. So they're also able to, succubus are able to make their victims go to sleep. So she's able to grab like the hand, the arm, or whatever, and touch them. So it's a grab-based close attack again. It's cumulative, progressive. So basically that means that as consecutive turns, they have to continue making saves, and if they fail, they go to the next level. So they go from like dazed to compelled to controlled. Normally it would be like one roll, depending on how many levels, degrees of failure is where you would go. Nope. So if they fail the first roll by 1, so they become dazed. The next time they make the roll, say they miss it by 2, that would go right to controlled. Okay. The same with this. So the sleep makes them fatigued, exhausted, and then they fall asleep. All right. She's got a lot of crowd control, a lot of CC type abilities here. Succubus are also strong in mythology. So she's got enhanced strength of 10, and I gave her enhanced stamina of 12 for toughness. So she's strong and she's tough. Okay. I gave her immunity of 11 ranks, so she's immune to aging, and she has the life support. So environmental damage, thirst, starvation, suffocation, all that stuff she's immune to. One of the things he did say that he wanted was immortality. Now, normally I do not allow immortality in my games. I just, like I talked about before, if you haven't watched a video previously where I talk about immortality and why it's a bad idea. But I added it here at 1 rank, so after a month or 2 weeks or whatever it is, after quite a while, she will eventually come back to life. And then, so you see how here I have the morph power? Under morph, there's the metamorph extra. So metamorph, you know what, I got my book right here. Let me just read it to you. Just so we are all on the same page. I had to read it a few times myself, but I think this is the best way to do it. So Metamorph. Morph only changes your appearance. You still have all the traits of your normal form. This modifier, Metamorph, allows you to have an alternate set of traits. Essentially a complete alternate character you change into. So that's kind of how he described this character. So I was like, all right, this sounds legit. So 1 set of traits per rank in Metamorph. You can switch between sets of traits at will. So I only gave her, you only need 1 level of this because there's only 1 other form. You could buy multiple ranks of Morph with Metamorph if I've got, a good idea, the Super Saiyan, All right, I've got my normal form, then I Metamorph 1 into Super Saiyan 1, Metamorph a second rank into number 2, But obviously you only get the same amount of points that you had initially. So I only have 270 points for this version of the character. The next version of the character still only has 270 points. It says they must also have traits suitable to your morph effect. For example, if you can only morph into humanoid form, your alternate form, all must be humanoid. All of your forms must have your full morph effect as well. So you'll see on the other character, this right here is going to be on this power is going to be on the other form as well. The reason why is because if you change to 1 form, if you don't have the power on there, you can't turn back. So they make you purchase this same power of all of your other forms. All of your forms must have the full morph effect. Those powers cannot be reallocated. Then it says the GM may require certain additional common traits for all of your forms, particularly mental abilities and skills. So we'll talk about that when I get to the other version of the character, which will be here in just a minute. Okay? All right, so we got our succubus form, right? She's tall, she's gorgeous, she's basically able to mind control people with a seductive kiss, make them do what she wants. If that doesn't work, puts them to sleep, and then goes in for the kiss because then they're asleep. They can't resist, so it's easier to do that. And then obviously if she has to fight, she can fight. Enhanced strength of 10, stamina of 12. Look up here at her stats, right? So base strength is 0, but it's 10 with enhanced. Stamina is 3 base, but 15 with enhanced. And then she's got decent, stats, the rest of it. You look at her defenses. So we got 11 dodge and parry. We got 15 toughness and fortitude and 11 will. So that's pretty good. Obviously you're thinking, power level 18 character, why aren't some of this stuff in the 20s? I'm like, well, because 11 and 15 is 26. But this isn't the version of the character that's supposed to go toe-to-toe with the entire enemy team. I'm just saying that now. This is not the character that fights toe-to-toe with everybody. That's going to be the next character. So now that we've looked at this, let's take a look at the next one. Alright gamers, so here we are. We're looking at the alternate form. Well, I shouldn't say alternate form, that's another. The additional form, the other form of Lilith. So her first form was her demon form, her succubus form. Now, this form she's going to turn into her god form. This is going to be like some celestial being radiating, light and power and kind of really however you want to perceive it. Is kind of what this character would look like. So let's kind of get into it. Obviously, all this stuff up here mostly stays the same. Obviously, power point distribution is all different. Or mostly different. I kept most, like the attributes, the abilities. I kept those the same. And then all of the advantages, I kept those the same. And a lot of the skills stayed the same, but some of them kind of went away. Because obviously this is a whole other form. Most of the same stuff goes over, but some of the stuff is a little different to, enhance the powers and abilities the new form is going to have. Let's just get right into powers, right? Well, so you see, skills change a little, not as many skills, but she still has insight. She's got perception, persuasion, a little more persuasive in this form. Then she's got ranged combat now, Divine Blast. Okay, it's because this was kind of described as being less physically imposing. This has got more magic, reality, warping, and bending abilities that you would think a deity would have. So that's why there's not the close combat stuff and all the other stuff. This is just about raw power. Okay? So let's go up here. Powers. God form. So I made an array. I called it, so it's Divine Magic. She's got, so the base power, because this power is super expensive, Transform. Transform is like crazy expensive if you buy it at 5 points per rank, which I did. Basically, Transform at 5 points per rank, you can turn one matter or one type of matter into any other type of matter. You can turn one thing into something else. There's no restrictions, okay? So even at 10 ranks, and I want it continuous, so it's permanent, unless someone else either destroys it or I or they use Transform and turn it back into something else. And normally it's a close action, you have to touch it. I gave it increased range so I could do it at range. I can just be like, boop, that car is now a swimming pool or something, okay? That's 70 points, all right? So as an array then, I gave her Deflect. So like a divine shield that she could put onto someone else, one of her allies, at 20 ranks. Because every power in the array has to be equal to or less points cost than the initial power. So 70 points is quite a lot. Most of these don't even come close to 70. But Deflect with Reflect and Redirect extras as well. So you can reflect attacks back as well, or you can redirect them so it comes in, I can redirect it over there. So I can do, she can protect her allies with that ability. She's got a ranged, penetrating damage power. Now this was, I think, one of the most expensive. So damage, penetrating, range, that's 60 points, right? But it's 20 damage. Okay? So it's a pretty strong attack, right? It said this is supposed to be all about just raw energy, raw power. She's got the ability to heal. So healing of 10, if I do it from range, is restorative, and it can resurrect. And then, so all of these are 1 point because they're not dynamic. So when she uses it, it's either she does a range penetrating damage blast, or she teleports, or she uses deflection. Can't use it all at the same time. I was thinking of doing some of this stuff as dynamic, but I don't know. I thought this it felt better to me with this. Because most of the time it's one or the other. Sure, I could have made a dynamic where she could have deflect and be creating stuff as well, like moving points around. But it is pretty complicated to understand dynamic arrays and how it all works. That might be a video specifically on dynamic arrays later on. If you guys would like to see something like that, let me know. And then she's got move object of 20, so continuous in perception, so she can move objects continuously. It just continues to move. It doesn't just up and down. She can pick up that building because move object 20 is quite a lot of mass. I didn't put it on the sheet, but let's look at how much that is, just so you guys know. All right, so looks like the move object of 20. Basically, she gets plus 20 strength for the purposes of picking up and moving stuff, and it's ranged, right? So with 20 strength, which is quite a lot. I think it's like 25 something tons, something like that. Quite a lot of weight. I chose teleport, 24 ranks with increased mass with 7 ranks. So with 7 ranks of increased mass, I think it's either 1,600 or 3,200 extra pounds of weight that she can carry when she teleports. And rank 24, there's nowhere on the planet that she can't teleport. I didn't give it all the extra additives of, you don't need to see it or whatever. But as long as you've been there, you can teleport to there. But she's able to take her whole team. So potentially, like, her and her whole team could just be like, whoop, right in the center of town or whatever, and everybody's there. So good, surprise attack. Or if she and everyone needs to get away, she can just teleport everybody away. Okay. And then I gave her create of 20, so precise, continuous, and impervious. So she creates an object, let's say a fire hydrant for some reason. It's permanent. It'll stay there. It doesn't go away. It's now a fire hydrant. It probably doesn't work like a fire hydrant, but it looks like one. It is impervious, so it's even harder to destroy. And it's got the precise additive. So with precise, she's able to create very complex like machines, stuff with moving parts and things like that. So not just blocks or simple things. You can make machines and stuff with it too. You would think that's something that like a god would be able to do, right? We'll be able to transform stuff, create stuff out of nothing. That's kind of the thing that I went with. And now we're done with the array. So I was thinking, so I gave her divine, so this divine shield is for herself. So it's constantly on as long as she sustains it. So she gets impervious protection 20. So this is like her godly protections, and it's sustained. So it's cost 40 points. So that means like every turn she has to, concentrate on to sustain it. So the reason why I gave it sustained is so there's a chance that she could be distracted, interrupted, something to, so the heroes could have a chance of getting past this. Because this is impervious protection. So basically anything that has 10 or less damage is just ignored, right? And then after that, you've still got to get past her plus 20 protection. So she's pretty tough with this shield on. So now with the sustained, there's a chance that it can be bypassed. So she kept the immunity of 11 with aging and life support, kept the immortality, kept the metamorph back into the demon form. So morph 1 with metamorph. And then I gave her flight of 15. So obviously she's in her god form. She can just fly around at 15 ranks, and it's subtle too. So she's that means it doesn't make any noise. It doesn't leave any after effects. She can just kind of like Superman, how he just kind of like floats down real quiet. She can just float down real quiet and jump on somebody, and that's 32 points for that. So that's the god form. So 50 abilities, 166 powers, a lot of points in powers. Obviously, I could have done more with more, but I was like, well, the power level 18 was pretty good. And then with the Metamorph, she can go back and forth and back and forth. Okay? And then defenses, obviously, it was described as not being physically capable. So obviously all the defenses are pretty raw. Pretty raw dog here. Basically uses all of her abilities to keep people away from her, to protect her cohorts, her minions, her allies. But then if she does happen to get hit, she does have that huge impervious toughness that needs to be gotten through. So she's no slouch. And she puts out a lot of damage too with these ranged blasts. Okay, so I hope you like that. Let's go into the story time and let's talk about this character. Alright gamers, so that was the character sheets for Lilith Graven, our demon god form villain. Let's talk about a little story. How does this character come about? So my imagining is, say in another dimension or heaven or however you want to think about it, there's a war between the gods and demons. And it's gone on for millennia, a very long time, maybe for longer than we can really even imagine. And there decides to be a peace. And now maybe they use the system, like humans did centuries ago, where the important people from both factions would come together and be married and have children. So that's what happens. Leader of the gods and the demon queen, the succubus queen, they come together. They have a child. They have this character, Lilith, and she obviously becomes rebellious. I'm thinking maybe it's the mom is whispering thoughts of rebellion into her ear, and the father catches wind and decides to banish the daughter before she becomes a problem. So throws her out, into the great beyond, into a portal. Where does she land? Right here. So the sky opens up here on our Earth. She just comes crashing down right through the top of a building. Obviously, she's tough, right? So she's able to shrug off this damage. So she just comes walking out of this ruined building. Now, I'm thinking that, where she's from, decency, as we understand it, is not really a thing. So she's stark naked, That's just maybe that's how they roll. That's how the demons, the succubus, roll from where she's from. And she doesn't think anything of it because she's never been here. She doesn't understand. So she comes out, big leathery wings, long, gorgeous hair, beautiful woman. People are all looking around. They got their cell phones. Oh my God. And she's just all looking around, kind of confused, and just decides to she flies and takes off. Later on, she comes upon another group of people, and she decides to ask them questions. Where is she? What, when is it? So she approaches these kids maybe it's at a college or whatever. They're out in their common area. They're studying or whatever. She lands. She just approaches them stark naked, and they're like, and they're not being very forthcoming with the information that she wants. So she applies the seductive kiss to one of them and mind controls them and makes him tell her what she wants to know. But then eventually she doesn't get the information that she wants. Maybe the guy didn't know what she wanted to know. So she asks, where can she get this information? So they direct her to a history museum or a library or something. So she goes to this area, this place, and this is where she learns about our history mythology. Thanatos, the god of death. She's like, oh, okay, I like that. That's gonna be me. Yeah, and that's where she takes that name. And now, obviously, there's been a lot of ruckus and a lot of commotion, and that her arrival has caused. And somebody is going to show up to try to see what's going on. So one of the heroes shows up, the Fortress, our Superman character that we made long ago. Go check that out if you want to see who I'm talking about. So he shows up outside the library or the history museum, whatever, as she comes walking out just stark naked. And he's like, even with him, with his stoic, his justice and all this other stuff is kind of taken aback by this, the charming beauty. And so she, obviously they converse, and she's like, oh, you're strong. I like you. So obviously then a scuffle happens, right? A fight. Maybe she ends up trying to go in for the seductive kiss to try to mind control him. He's able to fight her off. Maybe strikes a good blow to the face, and upsets her. Then she's like, okay, fine. You want to play it that way? And she forms into her god form, and and overpowers the fortress easily with all of this divine power she's wielding around. So maybe he's forced to flee, and to go back to the fortress, or to go back to the vault and tell the rest of the team about what's happened. Well, meanwhile, then she reverts back to demon form, and she's like, well, something's causing a lot of ruckus. People don't like the way she looks for some reason. She doesn't understand why. She thinks she looks good. Well, she's looking on billboards, and she sees pictures of women selling stuff, and she's like, oh, that's great. So she just morphs herself into look like one of those people, and she's able to go around without stirring up too much of a commotion. But then she decides, okay, all right, he's probably has friends, and they're all gonna come in mass eventually. So she decides that she's gonna make friends as well, either forcefully or mutually. So that's where later on the villains that we create are all going to be joining the foe, right? The Fraternal Order of Evil. So that was the story time. I hope you enjoyed that. It was super fast. I kind of just come up with it. Most of it on the fly while I was making the character to kind of make sense of why some of the things were like that. But I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, put it down in the comments below. I'd like to see all your comments on this character. What you think? How would you do it differently? What would you change? What did you like? What did you not like? Also, if you want to support my channel, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell icon while you're at it. Also, I'd love you to join me over on Discord. The link to the server will be in the description below. If you come over there, you can join me and some of the other subscribers. There's some great conversations we're having about all kinds of gaming content. Also, follow me over on Twitter if you'd like to get updates on future content and things that are going on in my gaming life. Plus, then I would like to see what you're doing in your gaming life as well. Or you can put that in the comments below as well. Either way, I'd like to see those. So, until I see you again in the dungeon, I'm Brian, your Game Master, and happy gaming.